Hi, my name is Sally Biz. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Upstream Dream. In this video, I'm going to talk about chapters 9, corporate offices, chapter 10, my own project, and chapter 11, deep water and field offices. So after 2 years in the New Orleans office, I was requested, and I was also asked, if I would take a job in the professional employment office, hiring petroleum engineers in the corporate office in San Francisco. It was a temporary assignment, and I took it. So anyway, this is an interesting chapter about where I lived in San Francisco, a beautiful apartment in the Marina District, how I felt very, corporate, going to a fancy corporate job in the oil and gas company corporate offices downtown San Francisco. So just an interesting thing about this chapter is whether or not I was really asked at the time. They were putting a lot of women in human resource type and environmental type softer jobs in the company, and I don't know whether that was going on with me, but I did want to take the assignment, and I had the option to go back, which I did. So you'll have to read the chapter and kind of draw your own conclusion on that. The next chapter is called My Own Project. So I went back after about a year and a half to become an engineer, to continue to be an engineer. Went back to the same offices in New Orleans, Louisiana, and talk about how it was a little different for me going back than it was when I first started. As you can't go home. So I did do well, and I was given my own project, and it was a $25 million offshore platform to oversee the design, fabrication, and installation. So I did all three. It took about a year. In this chapter, I discussed the challenges that I faced as one project engineers doing all three parts of the installation. And it is kind of interesting about, you'll have to read about when we went offshore and during the installation, what went on, how we found we had to stamp it over an existing offshore well, and some of the challenges that posed. Finally, the next chapter, and we're getting close to the end of the book, is chapter 11. I was transferred over to develop new designs or new platform concepts, and worked on some deep water concepts, and we talked a little bit about that. I had a chance to go on pioneering routes on floating production systems in 2,000 feet of water. These were the first ones. Now they're very prevalent, of course, 20 years later, but back then they weren't. I also then was transferred to the field offices, and the field offices, what that meant was I was to go offshore in actual production fields where they were producing oil and gas, and already installed the platforms, drilled the wells, and they were producing oil and gas. And these were projects working with the field personnel on a lot of different things, making sure the oil was flowing and the equipment was working properly. So this is getting to the end of the book, and I talk in the book, and I haven't mentioned this yet, but about beginning to feel isolated. I was asked by one of my bosses if I was feeling isolated. I did a lot of experience in the office, and then offshore, the only woman. So I don't know, you have to picture yourself doing that. And of course, being offshore, it's a hazardous area anyway. And then being the only woman often in charge, with just being the only woman, you begin to feel a little isolated. And I had a project when I was in the field office, and this is kind of at the end, where I was on a small jack-up rig, and the tool pusher started giving me a hard time, and I was getting very frustrated with him. And essentially, you have to read the book. I keep saying that, but halted the job, and after that, I was kind of burnt out, really, to be honest, and just took a little time off. But I go back to work in the next few chapters, and then You'll have to come and watch the next video to see how the book ends and how my career ends on a very up note. I just wanted to mention and let you know about, that you can get burnt out easily in any job. Anyway, my book is Upstream Dream. Thank you for subscribing and watching. And I don't know, this is always confusing, but anyway, you can get the book on Amazon or wherever you get your book. And thank you for subscribing, and just hit subscribe if you're interested in more. I'll keep posting. Thank you.